Welcome to the Mount Pleasant Podcast, featuring discussions and interviews about the people, places, and events that make Mount Pleasant such a special place.
This is the Mount Pleasant Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Cleary, and all thanks to the great people of Mount Pleasant Magazine, I get the honor and the privilege of introducing you to Mount Pleasant, the people who make it such a special place to do business, to work, and even to live. We're introducing you to Mount Pleasant's best on the Mount Pleasant Podcast. So on Highway 17 in Mount Pleasant, there's a place that NBC daytime television says is, I'm going to quote this, so I'm going to read it, a must-see one stop on any trip to Charleston, South Carolina. The USA Today in its 10 best has also ranked it the #1 plantation in South Carolina. So today, our subject of our Mount Pleasant podcast is Boone Hall Plantation, and we're joined today by their Director of Marketing. We say hello to Rick Benthall. Rick, thanks so much for taking the time to join us today on Mount Pleasant Podcast.
Glad to be with you, Brian. Good to see you.
Now, people from all over the nation, and I'm sure you could even name some countries all over the world, come to Boone Hall Plantation. So talk to me as a resident of Mount Pleasant, or maybe somebody in North Charleston, Somerville, Goose Creek. Why should we come and visit the Boone Hall Plantation?
Well, I think it's one of the things that the McRae family bought Boone Hall back in 1955. And when they decided to open to the public in 1956, of course, they were thinking they would share everything that Boone Hall is with the world. I mean, they felt they had been given a great treasure, and they needed to share this historical treasure with people from all over the world. But what was just as important to the McRae family was that the locals got to be engaged with Boone Hall as well. That's why Willie started a lot of these special events like the Low Country Strawberry Festival and the Boone Hall Pumpkin Patch and Boone Hall Fright Nights and Wine Under the Oaks, because it would give people in the Low Country an opportunity to see, to share and see all that Boone Hall is. There would be different opportunities during the year for them to do that, but it would also give them access to seeing some of the things that we share with visitors from all over the world. If people haven't been to Boone Hall, we would encourage them to do it because it's a great venue. It's so diverse in many ways. Our tours are diverse. Our experiencing the Gullah culture is one of the most popular things we do. And that's popular for people all over the world and for locals, because if you haven't had a chance to get some knowledge about that culture, which is presented by true descendants of the Gullah people, whose people came to Boone Hall when they were brought here from West Africa. They grew up here, and these descendants share their family's history as well as their own people's history as it relates to the Low Country. And it's a very upbeat, it's very spiritual in a lot of ways. It's very upbeat in terms of these people talking about where their people have been to get to where they are today. And we hear from many visitors, both local and from all over, that this is one of their most favorite things they get to see and get to experience on it when they come to Boone Hall. So
let me take from what you were talking about. Let's do this first of all. Lots of events that happen, that are annual events at Boone Hall Plantation. So why don't you've mentioned some of them, but give me the whole list of all the events, and then we'll dig down with them individually. But give us that list of all those events created for the locals here at Boone Hall Plantation.
But I'd be remiss if I did not mention the entrance to Boone Hall, which is the Avenue of Oaks. It's one of the most spectacular entrances anywhere in the world. It is a iconic signature Low Country image, and it's one of those things people ask me all the time. They say, where do you work? And I say Boone Hall Plantation, and I say, check out my driveway to work.
3/4 come mile off Long Point Road and down that Avenue of Oaks.
Right, a
3/4
mile of 280-year-old giant live oaks draped with Spanish moss. So if locals have not had a chance to see that would be another good reason to come experience Boone Hall. To get to the special events, where do you want me to start with that?
Well, let's just run through a list, because now, as you said, not everybody's experienced the Avenue of Oaks because some of the events are out off Highway 17 in the farm part of the plantation. But let's run through, just give us the list of events, and then we can dig down to the individual folks, the individual festivals as they happen.
Well, again, it goes back, Willie's family were produce sellers. They were from Ellerbe, North Carolina. They were produce brokers and they had a farming background. And so part of Boone Hall is the farm. There's approximately 120 acres that we farm. I talked to, as a matter of fact, I talked to Commissioner Hugh Weathers yesterday, and he says, y'all don't have the biggest farm in the state, but you have a farm that grows a more diverse variety of produce than any other. We grow over 40 different kinds of produce. And so what Willie also wanted to do was that particular part of the plantation, the farm part of the plantation, he wanted kids who grow up to see where their food came from, to understand that it doesn't just come from a grocery store shelf. It comes, they get to see it firsthand where their food is basically been planted and grown before it gets to them, and learn about that process. And then that evolved. He started back in 1996. He started and 1997, those 2 years, back-to-back years, a 2-acre U-pick pumpkin patch and a 2-acre U-pick strawberry field. And again, this goes back to wanting to share Boone Hall with people, educate them about it, and allow them to have some good, wholesome family fun on the farm. Well, as you know, Brian, those two events have grown to be some of the largest of its kind in the state of South Carolina. But what will also be at the core of it all, what will always be at the center of it all is how they embrace family and community. And again, these events give local families, and I think now more than ever, with everything we've all been through with the pandemic, being able to share time together, family time together, is important. And to share in community experiences are important. So the Strawberry Festival has now grown into an event this year. It used to be basically a 1-night, 3-day festival. We've expanded that where it's going to be 2 weekends this year. It's going to be two big weekends, April 8th, 9th, and 10th, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday before Easter, 14th, 15th, and 16th. And we'll have all the things we normally do. There's a petting zoo. The kids love that. There's the pig races. There are acrobatic dog shows. There's a playground area. There will be, of course, the festival rides. There'll be over 20 festival rides that people can ride. There'll be the Little Miss Berry Princess contest, which is a cute little contest with little girls 3 to 6 years of age. As a matter of fact, that contest for this year is about full. Who will vie for the title of Miss Berry Princess 2022. And we try to emphasize it's just meant to be fun time for the families and the little girls, dressing up in strawberry outfits. It's not designed to be a stepping stone to Miss America by any means.
Miss America comes from Boone Hall's Strawberry Festival. Yeah, that could be a great thing, Rick. I mean, no, you gotta consider that. So yeah. We are talking with Rick Benthall. Rick is the director of marketing at Boone Hall Plantation today on Mount Pleasant Podcast. I'm Brian Cleary. The Mount Pleasant Podcast is a part of Mount Pleasant Magazine, and I've got to show the most recent issue of Mount Pleasant Magazine. I picked this up in the Harris Teeter recently, and I do that, Rick, because right inside here, we've got the whole rundown in terms of what's going on with the Lowcountry Strawberry Festival. I've been to your place. I've picked strawberries. I've been there for the Strawberry Festival. It truly is a family-friendly event, and that seems to be a running theme for everything you do at Boone Hall Plantation. Well,
also there's the Mr. John Deere contest for little boys, 3 to 6.
All right,
we've got room to get some more of those to enter into that contest. But yeah, one of the things people like to do is they get on a tractor ride, and this year we planted over 10 acres of strawberries. So, good Lord willing, and if everything goes correctly, we should have strawberries for people to pick during the festival. And they like to ride the tractor ride out to the fields and pick their own strawberries, and those are paid for by the pound. And yeah, it's just great family fun on the farm, as we like to say. And so
podcast advertising is the new way to reach your best audience. Podcast advertising gives your business a voice of authority. Be heard. Advertise on one of our podcasts. Visit carolinapodcasts.com or call 843-345-7012.
You're listening to the Mount Pleasant Podcast.
And so, Rick, you talked about the fact that one of Willie's visions was showing kids and showing families, showing everybody where their fruits and where their vegetables come from. Every year on Highway 17 there, you've got the Boone Hall stand that's open, but people are curious, and I have to ask you about this, the Boone Hall Farms store. It's no longer open, and I can't get my she crab soup, and Mrs. Cleary is needing some she crab soup. What can you tell me about the Boone Hall Farm store?
Well, we've got two big projects on the drawing board. One right now is the cotton gin renovation and restoration on the main property, where that building, which was built in the 1850s, is now being renovated to where there'll be, on the first floor there'll be a museum and a gift shop, and on the second floor will be historic meeting space. Out front there'll be a hospitality center that people get to enter, and it's really going to be a showcase that will help us kind of take the Boone Hall story to the next level. The other part of the picture is the Boone Hall Farms Market. And as things have evolved we had hoped to be started on that sooner than now. But if things have evolved during the pandemic, we've had to take a look at basically trying to handle these projects a little more slowly, and basically because of the expense involved. And so we're due to open the gin house in January of 2023. We hope sometime between now and then to begin getting the market building underway. We're not sure exactly when, Brian, that's going to be, but it's coming. Okay, it's coming. It's going to be on our side of the road. It's going to where the roadside produce stand now is where the new Boone Hall Farms Market will be. So and we're excited about that as well. But it's coming. We just not exactly sure when.
Well, that's all right. People are going to be excited to hear the information broken here. You heard it first on the Mount Pleasant podcast. The market is coming back, and we're looking forward to that. Now, you talked about the avenue, the beauty of Boone Hall. People may not realize it, but they may have seen Boone Hall on the big screen because the plantation has been used in a number of movies. Why not name drop a little bit, Rick, in terms of where Boone Hall Plantation has been featured in film?
Well, it started back basically in the 1980s, in 1985, when the miniseries North and South with Patrick Swayze, Elizabeth Taylor, Robert Mitchum, there was a whole list of stars, basically was filmed. A large part of it was filmed on location at Boone Hall Plantation. And it's still the seventh, as I understand it, it's still the seventh highest rated television miniseries of all time.
Wow.
And all I need to do to see how popular it is put a photo from North and South on our Facebook page, and I get 1,000 likes and tens of thousands of visitors. Right alongside is The Notebook. And The Notebook was shot basically in early 2000, I think 2002, and then it premiered on the big screen in 2004, featuring Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams. And then, of course, James Garner and Gina Rowlands was also in it, which is a romantic love story that basically is one of the romantic favorites of all time. And so those two we get asked about those things all the time. And we hope to, down the road, we're not exactly sure when, but we hope down the road to enhance our presence of our association with Hollywood. Basically, those two movies, which are the two leaders in the clubhouse, so to speak, of what's been featured there. But we've also Halle Berry had her acting career in the TV miniseries Queen. And so that was also shot at Boone Hall. And that was a sequel to Roots, basically, that took place in the early 90s. And then we've had a number of different TV series. Army Wives, while it was on Lifetime TV, a lot of that was shot there. We've had a number of other. Days of Our Lives has been shot at Boone Hall before, if you can believe. That's a soap opera. We've had Wheel of Fortune with Vanna White and Pat Sajak shot on location out there. So wow. Our list. So as you talk about history and the history of Boone Hall as it relates to big picture history, of course, is most important. But part of our history is our association with Hollywood and what's been done there as well. So.
And there's an association with Hollywood as well, in that some famous people have gotten married at Boone Hall Plantation. What about me? Now, if my wife's watching, I'm already married, but I was just going to phrase the question. For me, if someone wants to get married at Boone Hall, is that something that they can do?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now there is basically, and it's the nature of the industry. Basically, people are scheduling a year and a half to 2 years out. So, and I mean, we can find, but that's mostly for your most popular nights like Fridays and Saturdays. There, you can still find a Sunday, or we've had some people get married on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because they wanted to get married at Boone Hall, and then and not wait a year and a half to 2 years to get a Friday or Saturday. But certainly our wedding director, Natalie Knox, she's the best. And that's not marketing spin. She is so detail oriented, and she's so helpful to these brides, and just does. So I tell her all the time, she's the best in the country at doing this. And of course I'm biased, but I'm gonna tell you, if you look around, she's very detail oriented, and I tell her, you're kind of like Steven Spielberg. When he shoots movies, the rumor is behind the scenes, he doesn't have to give a whole lot of direction. People just understand what they're supposed to do, and it happens. Natalie's like that with our wedding. She does a phenomenal job of utilizing the beauty of Boone Hall, basically, because we have different locations. We use the front lawn. We use basically on the avenue, on the side is places where they get married. And of course, one of the most iconic places, in the country is the Cotton Dock, right, where that has been, as we like to say, is housed presidents and politicians, families, reunions, and weddings, get-togethers of all kinds. And so we're very, very honored and grateful to have that facility for brides. So if they'll just, basically, if they want to email Natalie K at BooneHallPlantation.com, she can help them with trying to see if we can get them squared away.
This is the Mount Pleasant Podcast. I'm Brian Cleary, your host. We're in conjunction with Mount Pleasant Magazine, and today we're joined by the Director of Marketing at Boone Hall Plantation. Rick Benthall is our guest. So, Rick, let's talk about some more of your events. Let's focus on the fall, because people love Fright Nights. They love the pumpkin patch, and it seems like every year, somehow you up your game. You've got the corn maze that's carved into different shapes and things. There's a lot going on there for people to come out and experience every October.
Again, this goes back to what Willie did. He started that out as a 2-acre pumpkin patch, and now, we've grown that. There's also a petting zoo there. There's also there's a number of shows and entertainment and live music, and there'll be the family friendly Monster Hayride, which is basically different from Fright Night's Hayride, because it's very kid friendly in terms it's got a lot of colorful scenes, basically that showcase different Halloween type scenes, and you ride on a tractor, ride through the woods to see those scenes and so forth. And then the 8-acre corn maze, it's one of the largest in the Southeast, where we've been fortunate enough to feature a lot of local good folks, basically, and local media companies, local banks. Ameris Bank's been on there, but we've also been fortunate to be able to feature people like the Chick-fil-A and Coca-Cola. And those have played well nationally in terms of helping get the word out about, because it's a unique billboard. It's not many places you'll find an 8-acre billboard, and we've had Boeing on there back in 2011. So again, you've got roughly, including the corn maze and the pumpkin patch, the family friendly Monster Hayride, you're talking over, 25, 30 acres of family fun on the farm that people can have in the fall with the pumpkin patch. And of course, Fright Nights is an animal all of its own. It's one of those things. Ryan Neal of Live Productions, he's our event manager for that, and over the last several years, and he's done an excellent job of taking that to the next level. As a matter of fact, basically you had Mike Edwards and Tanya and Brooke come out last year from Charleston Radio Group. And when they got through, they looked at me and they said, Disney or Universal's got nothing on y'all. They said, y'all have taken it to another level in terms of creating a great, frightful, fun experience. That's the key. And the key difference between us and Disney and Universal is they've got a good foundation to put all that stuff on. We're building it on a farm. So you're talking about having, gadgets and different things that got to be triggered by certain things, and sound productions that have to be, clicked and presented at the right moment when people enter into those areas on a farm. So Ryan does a great job of pulling all that together, and we've been blessed. To God be the honor and the glory for it. Last year we were blessed for all these fall events, both the Strawberry Festival, the Pumpkin Patch, and Fright Nights all did record numbers. And we're very, like I said, to God be the honor and the glory for it. We're very thankful for the blessings that we've had with those events.
So let me segue over to the next holiday, which is Christmas. Now, Thanksgiving is in there as well. Boone Hall, the beauty is there year round. Christmas really brings out that beauty. And this past year, you introduced a new event. People may not be as familiar with it yet, but I would assume it'll be back this year, a Christmas tree festival at Boone Hall Plantation. It
was the first event we had that basically, and this is back on the farm side. We've been selling Christmas trees for a number of years, and we said, well, what can we do? Families love coming out and picking out their own Christmas trees. What can we do to help make that a more special experience, for them? So we've brought Santa out. We've got Santas out there for a weekend of being able to talk to kids. And I'll tell you what, Brian, Christmas is such a magical time of year. But you can really see the magic when you look in a child's eyes when he sees Santa Claus or he or she sees Santa Claus. It's a magical thing. The wonder in their eyes is something, and that's a pretty neat thing to be a part of. Then we've had different vendors and crafts and different types of things and all kinds of different festival foods. Charleston Festival Foods and Conchita's Kitchen and Robert Patterson with his group, the Special Ops group, all help us have great food options out there for people. We had a Ferris wheel. So we brought in a Ferris wheel this past year. And so we're going to try to move that event to the next level. We'll try to increase it and get it better and better each year. But that's another one and then of course the home is beautifully on the plantation is beautifully decorated for Christmas too. So.
And let me slip in the first Sunday of December event. The Charleston Radio Group is a proud part of it, but every year it just seems to get better and better. But it's the perfect place, wine under the oaks at Boone Hall Plantation.
Well, Willie said when he introduced this event, he said, this is a signature Boone Hall event because it gives people the opportunity to experience the plantation, to come down the avenue and then share some time together at an event where there's a variety of wine that's available for people to sample, a variety of food for people to sample, and it's a great holiday kickoff event for Boone Hall, and we're very, very grateful to Charleston Radio Group because y'all helped us take that to the next level as well. And so, and it pretty much sells out every year because we have to, in order to keep the experience where we want it to be for the people in attendance, we have to limit the number of people that come. We hope to have those tickets on sale probably a little earlier this year, earlier in the summer than we have had in the past. So stay tuned for all that. And I will admit, I want to the Boone Hall, the Strawberry Festival. There are going to be limited tickets for each day, even though we're open 6 days. There are going to be limited tickets for each day. So we encourage you to go to BooneHallPlantation.com and go ahead and get your tickets for the Strawberry Festival if you're planning to come.
And that is the next event that's coming up at Boone Hall Plantation, the Strawberry Festival. But Rick, if you wouldn't, let me wrap it up here. And if you could take a minute or two, we've heard the name Willie a number of times throughout the conversation. And sadly, Willie McRae passed away a little while ago, but his memory still lives on and always will at Boone Hall Plantation. I know this is someone that you worked with for so many years. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of Willie to the community and what he meant and how, and you've referenced it a few times, but exactly how he kept and made sure that Boone Hall Plantation was a part of the Mount Pleasant and a part of the Low Country community?
Willie understood that Boone Hall was a magical, as he used to say, and I'm going to use his voice, a magical, mystical place, and he understood that, and he understood the value of engaging the community and people all over the world to experience that. So he was always looking for new and innovative ways to to present that, as he liked to say, with a modern day flair, and so he introduced the Exploring the Gullah Culture presentation out there. He enhanced the historic dwellings presence out there, where that now is the Black History in America exhibit. He introduced the plantation farm and nature tours around the property, where people would get to see more and more of that. But he was so beloved by so many people in the community, because he was a people person. He loved people, and he did a lot of things that people, for other people and other businesses and other organizations, and didn't ever seek credit for it. He was one of those people. I'd say, well, do we want to let people know what we're doing sometimes? He said, no. He said, we're doing it because it's the right thing to do, not because we want to get any credit for it. And when you have that kind of philosophy and you're that kind of a man, well, you develop relationships and friendships that last a lifetime. He and Kathy Britsius and Joe Schleicher and Steve Kish are the ones that came together over 38 years ago, I guess it is now, to start the Low Country Oyster Festival. And again, that's grown to be the world's largest oyster roast. And again, that network that you create with all these different people in the community, you become a very beloved individual. He was a low country giant, but he never sought to be. He was always someone that liked to stay behind the curtain, so to speak. Well, the cat's out of the bag now, since he's passed. Everybody, and I'm grateful and glad that we've been able to share a lot of what Willie is and what he's meant to the Low Country and to Boone Hall Plantation. And I miss him dearly every day, but he's up there looking after us. He's watching over us. So
my experience with him was always, he was a brilliant, but a very humble man, as you said. But I'm curious, did you ever do your impersonation in front of him? What do you think of you doing Willie?
Yeah, I ventured down that path a couple of times, and a couple of times he let it go, and a couple of times he kind of told me, he said, you might want to check that a little bit. So I had to be careful about that. But it's so funny because a lot of people do impersonations of him, because he was such a true Southern gentleman, but there was such distinction in the way he carried himself. He had all these sayings that he just, sometimes you're the bug, sometimes you're the windshield, things like that stick with you. And it was saying a lot when you're saying a little, you know what I mean? It's just, and he taught me so many. He was so good. He's been so good to many families, but he's been really good to mine. And we hit it off from the day one when I first met him. I actually produced a DVD for Boone Hall back in 2006, and that evolved into me getting a marketing job. Go figure. But we hit it. He liked that DVD so much. And see that DVD, I got to do that because of his association. He was also a peach broker. For 30 years, he sold McLeod Farms peaches. So he had, his circle of influence was in the agricultural industry as well. And so I got to produce that DVD as a result of that relationship with Kent McLeod at McLeod Farms. And then it evolved into getting the marketing job, the best job I've ever had. Like I said, look at everything. We've talked about all the events. We've talked about the history. We've talked about movies and weddings and all the different things. It's a marketing guy's dream to be able to deal with everything. And like I said, check out my driveway to work, But he was a great man, and we miss him. But his influence, the values that he instilled in all of us, and the legacy he left will live on forever. And probably one of his biggest legacies was in November of 2019, when he entered into the conservation easement agreement with the Low Country Land Trust that will preserve and protect Boone Hall for where it will always be Boone Hall for people today and for generations yet to be born. And Brian, as our community grows, the Mount Pleasant community grows, that's going to become a more and more valuable place for people to come to experience what Boone Hall has for them to experience, whether it's special events or the plantation itself. It's going to remain a special place, especially as the community grows and there's less and less of that land around us, green spaces like that around us. So
It'll be part of his legacy that'll live on and on for generations, but you've been a big part of his legacy spreading as well. And of course, again, in Mount Pleasant Magazine, pick it up. The Low Country Strawberry Festival, the next event at Boone Hall Plantation. I got to do this, Rick. Maybe you can help me out, though, because also in the new edition of Mount Pleasant Magazine, look at this guy. That pretty handsome guy there. I'm in Mount Pleasant Magazine.
Oh, look at Brian. Go, Brian, go.
There we go. So Rick Benthall, the Director of Marketing at Boone Hall Plantation. Rick, I really appreciate your time today. It looks like it's 2022 is going to be another great year for the plantation.
Well, we just want to thank everybody. Like we said, it's no matter how big these events or we become at any level, those down-home family values will always remain a part of what we do. We will always embrace family and community as where love and laughter rule the day and create memories for a lifetime. And
it'll be memories that folks from all over the planet can experience, but mostly here in Mount Pleasant. It's a jewel that's right here in our community, and we're so proud of it. Rick Benthall, thank you for joining us today on Mount Pleasant Podcast, and thank you as well for listening and being a part of Mount Pleasant Podcast. I'm Brian Cleary. Thank you for watching and listening.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks for spending your time with the Mount Pleasant Podcast, your community, your podcast. Listen to past and future episodes at mountpleasantpodcast.com.